Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about where I believe that Bitcoin is going next. As you know, I believe that Bitcoin is not quite done with this corrective movement, and it would make sense to me that Bitcoin would continue lower from here. Last week, we went out on a limb and said that our price prediction, in fact, I think it was a week ago today, we said that our price prediction was that Bitcoin would drop down to between $94,000 and $100,000 per coin at some point before the end of the year. And today, we're going to be analyzing whether or not Bitcoin just took another step in that direction. As you will probably already know, Bitcoin has had a bit of a capitulation over the course of the last 24 hours or so. On Monday, we were sitting up here around 111. Overnight, we dropped down to 107,384. And as it stands, it does somewhat look like Bitcoin is attempting to build a head and shoulders pattern right here. So today, we're going to be analyzing that head and shoulders pattern. Does this mean that Bitcoin is going to go lower? Does this mean that the bullish breakout that we've talked about is falling over? What does this mean? Where is Bitcoin going? That's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more content because we have so much stuff going on today. Oh man, I'm so excited. We got so much stuff going on with trading over in the first cohort. We got new courses being built behind the scenes that you don't even know about. We're expanding our team. There's so much stuff going on right now behind the scenes that is going to help this channel just absolutely take off. You know, one of the things I'm so very thankful for is you. I'm so thankful for you. Without you, what we do here would not be possible. I would just be some crazy guy talking into a camera if there was nobody on the other end of this microphone, on the other end of this internet connection. So thank you so much. Like, I just want to begin with gratitude. And I think that's how we all need to start our day, is just being so very thankful that we were born in the 21st century with technology. That I'm so very thankful for all of you guys that are watching. You know, recently, we got back up over having 100,000 unique viewers per month. In the last 28 days, over 100,000 individual people have seen our channel, and we also just breached over 300,000 cumulative views over the last 28 days. We're also coming close to 250,000 subs, and it looks like we're probably going to get there by the end of the year. Next year, we're going to shoot on up towards 500K. That's the plan. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And we got a lot to cover. So let's read some chat and then we'll get started. I'm working on getting my setup fixed. So I have for all of you guys that have been like, Jeb, you're not seeing your screen. I have a monitor over here now. So say hi to yourself, right? So I got my dual monitor arm set back up. So no more me talking to myself on Facecam for 20 minutes and not actually being there. Now I can bounce back and forth, and I can see it over there. So, no more of that nonsense. Let's read some chat. Sean O'Brien is in chat, said, right now. Right now. Had to do it. Spectre 12100. Is it like Inspector, surname Gadget, or is it just Spectre? Most Winner. That's a great name. That's some confidence. That's the kind of confidence that we need to see here. Let's see. Joe Bollier's in chat. Sam Magione. Magione? I don't know. It's kind of like I was at Olive Garden the other night with my wife, and it's the minestrone soup. And I said, is it pronounced minestrone? And the guy says, oh, yeah, it's all the pronunciations are correct. And then he handed it to me, and he said, here's your minestrone soup. And I said, aha, I got you to tell me how it was said. Tricked him. David W. Hamilton, Queen, Seth, The Jogging Tree, Music Maker Mart, good to see you. Juan is in chat, Brent Garrett, Jason S., Schmedley B., Joe Bollier, Queen, Tim Lee, any advice? That's what we're here for. Not so much financial advice, but we are here to help you understand what the market is about to do. Bullish. Also, repping the Bitcoin shirt. If you guys do not have at least one Bitcoin shirt in your repertoire, I mean, come on, what are you doing? Come on. This is... You got to get on it, right? Like I said, we're expanding our team again. We're hiring some people. So we may end up moving in the direction of having a merch store again. How would you like that? We got our FinSolve mug. I still got some of our merch from way back in the day. some of our coffee mugs. I'd love to get some merchandise going out again. Anyway, enough rambling. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to turn on Smart Money Concepts here from Lux Algo here in a little bit. But first, I want to just start with some trend lines. When I'm trading, here's what I like to do. My favorite button's the trash button. You guys have watched me for long enough to know that I am a disorganized mess sometimes. I mean, that guy that is like just, he's got all the strings up and like, you know that meme? You know what I'm talking about. At least half of you know what I'm talking about. I'm that guy when it comes to charts. I have come to realize that your systems, and this is the first lesson I have for you today as we jump into the TA here, your systems and your principles will predict your level of success. Let me say that again. Your systems and your principles will predict your level of success. Success in any endeavor in life comes down to adopting and living correct principles. Everything else is downstream of that. And one thing that I'm learning is that if you want to succeed in anything, you have to adopt the principle of do it right or don't do it at all. And one of the most important things that you can do in charting is to make sure that you do it right in the sense that you begin with the end in mind and realize that the point of your charting is to be able to see what the market is doing. If you've got lines just all over the place and fibs and old trade setups and you got, this, that, and the third, and you've got a little note that you left over here for yourself, like if you've got all this, you can't see the chart. It's a mess. My favorite button is quickly, and I'm in the way over here, but now I got this screen. Look, I can just, I'm going over here now, right? My favorite button right here. I just mess with everything. This is great. Hang on. There we go. There we go. Look, I can move that around. This is awesome. That's my favorite button right there. Okay, let's fix the let's go ahead and fix the the monitor now, right? But that's my favorite button. Woo, I'm going around here. That's my favorite button is the trash button. Anyway, let's get back to it. So, with that said, let's go ahead and hit the trash button and let's start from scratch. The first thing that jumps out at me with my chart vision, as you guys know, we have been talking for a very long time about how when you've looked at a chart for long enough, you basically get this form of chart vision. The first thing that jumps out at me here is that. That does not get much more obvious, that trend line. We also previously had this trend line drawn, right? And so depending on how you draw it, Bitcoin either briefly broke through this trend line. Hang on, let me fix this. There we go. There we go. Depending on how you draw this, Bitcoin either briefly broke through this trend line, and when it went for the back test, this is called this is a certain kind of confluence in trading where it's the other side test, right? We failed it, or you could just say that we never broke through it in the first place. And that has caused Bitcoin to fall over here. And in doing so, it was an excellent short trade, and we've fallen back down to this uptrend. This means that Bitcoin, and we're going to go ahead and delete this one because this downtrend is much more accurate for the data. That means that Bitcoin is sitting in between these two levels right now, which is fantastic if you're a trader because it's really easy to enter into a trade down here along. Some of you guys might have caught that long. And if we come up here, it's really easy to enter into a short trade. And then if you're wrong, you just flip it into a long trade, right? So this is honestly very helpful for you traders out there. But what it does for the long term, because I like to kind of break out my technical analysis into daily chart TA so that we can get the sentiment, the overview, the bias of where the market is going. And then I like to look in at the shorter term for the actual, day and intraday and scalping trading. And so the overall bias right now is bearish. And I'll prove it. Bitcoin originally broke down here to 109,000, rallied up to the 0.382. Typically, when you're going to see a bearish continuation, you'll rally up to the 0.618, and then you'll continue down. The fact that we only rallied up to the 0.382, I cannot stress enough, is extremely bearish. Okay, so that was that, right? But then we saw yet another correction. This time, Bitcoin did do exactly that. I was playing around with shorts yesterday because of this. Bitcoin rallied up to the exact 0.618 Fibonacci. In this case, it was a stronger bounce because we didn't stop out at the 0.382, but we did reject at the 0.68. So now what we need to see happen is we need to see whether or not Bitcoin is going to flip inverse, right? Because if you draw this fib, you can see that Bitcoin has dropped back down to the 0.5, which is indicative that there could be a continuation. And if Bitcoin did break through 112 here, remember 112 is a previous bull market all-time high. 112 way back in the day, back in May. That rhymed. Back here on the conference day, we hit 112. So 112 is an important big even, as well as if we draw this Fibonacci right here, it is also the 0.618. In other words, if we break through the 0.618, that is an excellent place to enter into a long. Now, I always recommend bare minimum a 1 to 3x, 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio. For every unit of risk, you are in a position to get at least 3 units of reward. So that's what I would want. That's what I would encourage you to keep in mind. So the way that you would probably go about a trade like this, if we were to watch here, if you were to do like an intraday trade, we've got our 0.618 right here. You would want to go into a long position somewhere around here. Now, as far as how when you would go into the long position, you'd probably want to go into the long position somewhere like this. If Bitcoin broke up here to 111,500, had a back test, and then it was able to hold here. For example, if we draw the other Fibonacci, we could say, what if Bitcoin came back to for example, the 0.236 or wherever? I mean, that's a little bit low, honestly, so maybe not the 0.236. But if Bitcoin is able to break out here, bounce down, that's where you can get a solid entry somewhere right around here. You're going to make that risk as minimal as possible, and then you're going to look for the actual price target. Now, there's several different ways you could draw the price target. I would recommend taking some profits here below the 0.786 because this is probably a level that is going to be tested. So 113,000. If you get the correct entry and you use your proper risk management, you can set up a risk to reward ratio here of 5 to 1, which means if you have a 50-50 shot of winning this trade and you run it 100 times, statistically, this kind of trade is going to make you money. And it does make sense because you're dealing with an actual chart formation. You're dealing with multiple. You'd be dealing with a break above the Fibonacci golden pocket, and you would be also dealing with a break above this downtrend and a back test. So if we manage to bounce right here, then that is probably indicative. If we have a high that is that much higher, right? You see that? That much higher of a high, then that would probably indicate this showing the amount of bullishness in the trade right there, this bottom, and then you have a bottom here. If we bottom here and bounce, that's where, and you sweep these highs up here, you go into that long, you keep that risk really contained, and you're able to get a pretty solid trade. So be on the lookout for that. Bitcoin is looking pretty good over the course of the next few days. We're going to talk a lot about gold and other assets in today's video. And a big part of the reason why I say that Bitcoin is looking really good right now, even though on the short term there is a head and shoulders pattern forming, is because of this. This is a brutal double top on gold. Yikes. Like, wow. Oh my goodness. That's just that is not the same kind of top out formation that we've seen recently. We saw something similar here at $4,000, but that is definitely showing quite a bit of weakness. We're also not looking here at a possibility of bullish divergence on the hour chart for gold. On the 4-hour chart, same difference. You do have, not same difference, same thing. You do have bearish RSI divergence, but you don't have bullish RSI divergence to come in and save it. So gold is probably going into bearish price discovery mode for a little while, which is going to give Bitcoin an opportunity. Because what I'm tempted to say is that if Bitcoin does not break here through this Fibonacci, which is the 0.5, then Bitcoin will probably see a break down below this downtrending level of support, which would be a break below this uptrending level of support as well. And then from that point in time, you'll probably drop back down to 103. This would be, by the way, an excellent place to enter into a short trade for the exact same reason as we talked about entering into the long, is that it's a classical setup. It's a very simple classical setup. You'd probably want to enter the short somewhere around here. What you would probably end up seeing happen is the exact same thing, but in the inverse. If we do top out right here, right now, and we fall back over, you'd probably drop, you'd probably rally back up to fill this fair value gap right here. There's a fair value gap right here. I wonder if Smart Money Concepts will show it. Might do it. Might need to go down a shorter term time frame. I'm not sure if I have my Smart Money Concepts set up. Oh, I do. Look at that. There's your fair value gap right in here. I'm not sure if that's showing that correctly, but either way, on the hour chart, you can see that there is one. FVG, see that? Fair value gap. I wonder if it shows up like down here on the minute chart. Kinda, no, not exactly. Let's see if I can get it to snipe it on the 5 minute. I want to show you. I can't get it to flash, but you can see it on the 1 hour chart. I might not have the sensitivity set correctly, but what I'm trying to show you is this. If Bitcoin does fall over, I'm not saying it's going to, because I mean, gold crashing that hard is probably very good for Bitcoin. But do you see the difference between this wick and this wick? If Bitcoin did drop down here, and again, this is becoming less likely, so it probably won't matter. But if it does drop down here and we just come straight through that, you'd probably see a back test up into it and then a crash. So at this point in time, when you see, if you see, got to say if, not when, because I'm not convinced it's going to happen at all. But if you saw Bitcoin fall over and drop back down here to say like 107, rally back up to the downtrend and then reject, this would be your short entry. You're going to make sure that your risk is at minimum 1/3 of your potential reward, but probably less. Looks like we're going up here. And if we hit one of these, maybe I'll just go into trade on stream. I mean, why miss it? We're talking about it. Bitcoin is performing very well. Yeah, so that's kind of how you would enter into the short trade. Not exactly convinced that you're going to need that right now, considering what gold is doing. I mean, as is being talked about in chat, what gold is doing is very significant. The other thing to keep in mind is that as gold's been rallying, Dixie has, for some reason, been rallying. I don't foresee that continuing. When that does slow down, it's probably going to be good for Bitcoin as well. I mean, do keep in mind Dixie's way down this year. But overall, I am leaning bullish on Bitcoin. I am encouraged that this downtrend, which has been so pesky, is coming under assault. And so I am looking forward to a possible break bullish. We'll keep an eye on our 1 day, or on our 1 minute chart here. This will be a bit of a longer term trade. Let's figure out what time frame we would want to be trading this on. When you're setting up a trading portfolio, you need to make sure that you're following basic rules so that you succeed. One of them that we need to keep in mind is that you need to try and stay on one time frame unless you have a good reason to do multi-time frame analysis, because you don't want to get shaken out by something on the 1 minute chart if you're trading on the 15-minute chart. So we'll watch this closely. I'll kind of pin this. In fact, I will put it over here so that I can watch it while we talk about other things, is exactly what I'll do. Man, I used to have 3 monitors. I've been dealing with 1 for the last like 3 years. This is so nice and nostalgic. All the good things from the olden days are coming back, guys. Any of you guys that have been around the channel for a long time, you're probably like, yeah, what's going on? I miss the good old days. Man, they are on their way back, and that's going to be better than ever. I cannot wait. I'm so excited for some of the things that are coming online in the next... I'm not talking about tomorrow. I'm talking about like the next 6 months or so. All right. Now, I'm still on my screen, aren't I? Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and do some longer term analysis while I pay attention here on the other screen to the longer term. Pull that back up. Pull that to the front. Just want to make sure that I can keep an eye on what's going on the short term. All right. Now, what I want to talk about in the longer term here is that I think that there is a possibility that Bitcoin's about to have a major break to the upside. And I'm going to explain to you exactly why that is. The main reason that is because what we're witnessing right now is a lot of indications that a reversal is on its way. And those indications show up primarily on the daily chart. They show up primarily on the 4-hour and the daily chart. And so I want to bring them to your attention. Give me just a second. I want to make sure I've got this up on the other screen in case something happens. We can watch it and possibly even trade it together. Okay. Got that set up just the way I like it. Good deal. All right. So as far as the reasons why I think the daily chart's looking good, I need point no farther than the daily chart candlesticks. Like, this is brutally obvious. Brutally obvious. Look at this candle wick. If Bitcoin manages to close a candle wick like this with this giant lower shadow, that is extraordinarily bullish. I'd be very encouraged by that. I'm very distracted here because Bitcoin looks like it wants to go ahead and hit one of our trade entries. And if it does, it'd be fun to trade it on stream. Yeah, let's bring this back over here. We'll talk about the long term in the light of the short term. And I will go ahead and bring up our trade. I'll go ahead and bring up the exchange here. And just, just for fun. Just for fun, we can look at possibly entering a trade. We'll see if it ends up working out in our favor. Anyway, Bitcoin is we'll watch the like minute chart here, and I'll just kind of narrate while we watch some of the reasons why Bitcoin is performing so well. And I'm so excited. Okay, let's start technicals. Technically speaking, Bitcoin did drop all the way down to 103.5. Dropping down to 103.5 is a very big deal. And the reason that it's a very big deal is because it does indicate to us that Bitcoin has liquidated most of the longs that it needs to. It's been the last flush out that everybody talks about, right? And so when you see a big flush out like what has occurred with that in particular, when you look at the flush out that has occurred with that drop down to 103, it means that a lot of people that were over leveraged are now no longer leveraged. Because here's the sad truth: most people don't know how to trade. Most people do not know how to risk manage, and they get liquidated. And in a 1% case, they're getting liquidated because the exchange isn't filling their limit orders, and then they say, "Oh, there's not enough liquidity." Well, the order was on the books; it just didn't get filled. So no, it is the exchange's fault. But on the other hand, there are also a lot of people that simply do not know how to risk manage, and they simply are not. Being safe about how they do things. And so those people getting wiped out is honestly very sad for them, very bullish for the market. And the reason it's very bullish for the market is because it means that there's no more liquidity down there to grab. Now, if we go ahead and go on over to CoinGlass, you're going to find that there's a great deal of liquidity that needs to be grabbed up high. If we go on over to the liquidation map, not the liquidation map, apologies, the liquidation heat map, you're going to see the amount of liquidity above us is enormous. I mean, it's wow. I am really scared for any of you guys that are in big long-term shorts. Look at all the liquidation up here, liquidity, and it's, by the way, it's actually significantly more than this. Like, the numbers that are shown down here are not. It's nothing like that, right? So the fact that you've got all this liquidity up here is indicative that these shorts are probably going to get wrecked. They're up here at 112, right? They're up here at 112. And they're probably going to get annihilated. But on top of that, if you zoom out and you look at the month, if you look at the last month of price action, now you're starting to get it. Look at all these shorts down here that are going to get liquidated at 112, 113. Then you look at all the shorts that are going to get liquidated up here if we rally back to 120, 126. You've got lots of short positions, lots of them, that are going to get wrecked if you run through 112 to 113. And what the whales do is they hunt those shorts and they eat them for breakfast. And so when you see that kind of thing occurring, it is an opportunity for you to have a better understanding of which direction the market is going. It does make sense that Bitcoin has put in a temporary bottom down here at 103. And also, if you pull out your Elliott waves, pull out our Elliott waves here. Where is our Elliott waves? Oh my goodness. Why am I having a hard time finding them? They're in here, aren't they? They moved on me, didn't they? Gosh. What am I doing? The reason I can't find them is because I always just draw them myself, but there we go. I always just do this number, but felt like being a little more special today. You got a 1 correction, 2 rally, 3 correction, 4 rally. And this is where I am concerned that there could be one more leg down, right? The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But it is also possible that you could say that all of this, everything that's happened in the last couple of weeks, is not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 impulse wave, but instead, and this would explain it if we did bottom here, it's an A, B, C correction, and then the bottom's in at 103. So there is that possibility as well. So we need to keep in mind that it is very possible that 103 was the bottom. And ultimately, guys, I want you to remember something. Technical analysis is not a tool about being right. You do not have to win 60, 70, 80% of the time as a trader to profit. In fact, most traders don't win more than 50% of the time. They're normally wrong more than they're right. The way that they succeed is that for every 1 unit of risk that they lose, they average 3 units of gain, 4 units of gain. So they can lose 2 times. So in other words, they lost 2 risk. But when they win 1 time, they gain 4 units of reward. So they were wrong twice, right? We'll just circle the trades. They were wrong twice, but the 1 time they were right paid for the 2 times that they were wrong. This is an example of a 33% win rate, where you doubled your money, right? So that's the way that you succeed in trading: is you mitigate the risk and you maximize the reward. You got to let the runners run, and you got to let the losers get cut off as early as possible. And so our job is not to say, hey, we have to be perfectly right about 94 to 100. Our job as an investor is to say, I'm going to set limit orders as low as I can so I can catch falling knives. On investments, not on trades, on investments. I want to catch as many falling knives as I can because I got, chainmail gloves on. When you're a trader, your job is to manage risk as much as you possibly can, such that you don't get burned. For example, it would not have been a good idea to go into a long right here, which is why I didn't do it. I am looking for a long entry right now, but I didn't do it right here because we haven't broken through the resistance yet. If we rally up here into the middle part of the Fibonacci golden pocket, and then we end up falling back and back testing and we bounce right here, I'm going into a trade, whether we're on stream or not. If it happens in 20 minutes after I end the stream, I'm going long. If it doesn't happen, I'm not doing it. I am not going to go into a trade without good technical confirmation. So here's my long-term stance on Bitcoin. My long-term stance on Bitcoin is I think that there is still a very high likelihood that Bitcoin could drop all the way as low as $94,000 to $100,000 sometime by the end of the year. We've got limit orders that are going to be placed down near 100,000. If they get filled, they get filled. If they don't get filled, they don't get filled. It's fine if they do. It's fine if they don't. I'll buy whenever I can. Right? But what I also want to encourage you guys to do is I also want you guys to understand that there is a great deal of volatility. And when there's volatility, there are trading opportunities, and that's why we're trying to do this. So let's kind of zoom out and let's take it one step at a time. The first thing I want to go over here is I want to go over all the reasons why I believe that the next few months on Bitcoin are going to look something like this. I want to show you why I think the next few months on Bitcoin are going to look something a little bit like this. I foresee, not that, on the linear, I foresee a retracement, possibly down to this level. Now, it is also possible that Bitcoin is in the process of going parabolic as we speak, and this was low enough. This is the argument for the bottom being in, by the way. This is the argument for it. The argument for the bottom being in is that we hit the bottom of the logarithmic uptrend. So there are two trend lines here. There's this trend line, which we just bounced off of. And then there's the regular trend line that we could fall back down to. That's at 94. So the 94 to 100K drop indicates that we would have a more significant drop because this uptrend doesn't hold. In other words, if we break below 106, 105, and we stay down there for a few days, then you're going to 92 to 94 to 100, something like that. If it holds, then you're about to see a massive rally. And so honestly, if you're doing like a multi-month long trade, it's not a bad idea to say, I'm going to go long at 107, and I'm going to target all-time high. And I'm going to keep my risk contained by saying if Bitcoin drops down below our current swing low, which is 103, I'm out. Right? So that is a possibility. You could go into a trade like this. This is a possibility. It's one that would make sense because if your argument is, okay, well, Bitcoin is bouncing right now off of the logarithmic uptrend, which has underpinned Bitcoin so many times. If your argument is that Bitcoin is bouncing off the logarithmic uptrend, it's going to rally, then that is a fantastic entry because your risk is 5.68 to 1. If you risk $100, you stand to gain $568. And people say, even people in chat are saying, that's gambling. That's not gambling. Gambling is going to the blackjack table and you got a 50-50 shot of winning. That's gambling. This is not gambling. This is like going to a blackjack table and saying you have a 50-50 shot of winning, but if you lose 1. If you win, you lose 5. Of course you would take that bet. Of course you would find that bet. I'd take that bet every day. I'd go up there with $100 and I'd sit there and I'd do that 1,000 times and I'd be rich. Of course I'd take that bet. Wouldn't you? 50-50 shot of winning. 50-50 shot of winning. Lands on red, you lose $1. Lands on black, you win 5. If you do that statistically over time, that's what ends up playing out. If you don't have a system, if you don't have a structure, and you don't put the odds in your favor by containing your risk and maximizing your reward, then you are gambling. The way that 90% of traders trade is gambling because they're not doing it right. But if you contain your risk and you maximize your reward, you can effectively set up a system for yourself that statistically, if your win rate is high enough and your risk is contained enough, will create wealth over time. And so that's where we look at these trade entries that are at bare minimum 3-to-1 risk to reward. Ideally, we're looking for 5-to-1 risk to reward. And I've given you several examples of options that you could look at. And if you want to learn more about that, I highly encourage you to sign up for 2Bit, which is our preferred non-KYC trading platform. And I also highly encourage you to set up for deposit $100. If you deposit $100 over on 2bit, then you're going to get access to, let me just show you. If you deposit $100 over on 2bit, you are going to get access. If you deposit $100 on 2bit, you're going to get access to the First Cohort Discord server. And there's a couple of things that are going to come along with First Cohort Discord server. First and foremost, you're going to get access to a great Discord server where we've got a lot of people that are constantly trading and winning and learning. You can see all the winning trades over here. Yeah. See all these winning trades plus 1,200%, plus 121%, plus 452%, plus 138%. People are winning over here. And you will learn from myself and from them. You're also going to get our Climate of Crypto videos early. Yesterday's video was out in the first cohort 3 hours and 39 minutes early. So I highly encourage you sign up for 2bit and join the Discord server so that you can learn how to trade without getting wrecked. A lot more educational content coming on that to keep you safe. Because here's the deal. Here's what I've come to realize. Lots of you guys trade, and I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to stop you. What I can do is I can teach you to do it safely. We've got a troll in chat, and that's all they are is a troll. Christians don't push products. That's funny. Let's see. Since we're talking about Christianity, shouldn't we reference the entire Bible? For example, 1 Timothy 5:18. For the scripture saith, thou shalt not muzzle the ox that treadeth out the corn, and the laborer is worthy of his reward. Paul taught that if you labor, you deserve to be paid. Should I not be paid for teaching people how to not get burned in trading? Should I not feed my family and my 3 small children and my wife who are vulnerable and can't take care of themselves? Would it be Christian for me not to provide for my own, or would that make me worse than an unbeliever, as Paul also said? If you are not going to quote scripture correctly, don't quote it in my chat. All right. Let's go ahead and continue talking about Bitcoin here. So again, the most important thing that I cannot encourage you enough is risk management. If you are going into a trade without a stop loss, stop trading. If you're going into a trade without using a stop loss, stop trading. If you're going into a trade without a plan, stop trading. If you're going into a trade with your entire position, stop trading. If you are not learning from us and from others about containing risk and maximizing reward, stop trading. If you are not taking the profits that you make and deploying the vast majority of those profits into your investments so that you have savings in case you go on a long losing streak, because that can happen, you should stop trading. And guys, let me make it very clear. It benefits me when you sign up for the exchange and trade. I don't care. I don't want to make money off of you losing. I don't want you to sign up for 2bit. I don't want you to sign up for 2bit if you're not going to trade safely. My job here is to teach you. You know how much money I could make if I just got you all to go sign up for 2bit and taught you to 200x long with no plan and you got liquidated? I'd make so much money doing that. And I'd burn in hell because I would not be obeying my king. My job here is to teach you to be safe, because there is a way that you can do this correctly. And that's what I'm encouraged by. All right, let's talk a little bit about gold here. I'm very excited about what's happening with Bitcoin, and a big part of that is because of what's happening with gold. I said on X, and I will go ahead and show it to you here. Let me pull this up. I said on X, and it got so many views. It got so many views. Let's find it. In fact, it might be in my bookmarks. I bookmark all my calls, by the way, so that I can quote them later, whether I was right or wrong. On October 17th, I said, gold is in a bubble and will correct for 3 to 6 months starting soon, probably before December the 1st. I also said the rotation out of gold into Bitcoin is about to be enormous. We're going to go ahead and repost that real quick, because what we are witnessing right now is the beginning of the rotation out of gold into Bitcoin. The rotation out of gold into Bitcoin has begun. And it's not going to be the end of gold. I want to be very clear on this. This is not the end of gold. Gold is going to go to $10,000 an ounce by the end of this decade. I've been very clear on that. That's my prediction as well. I believe that gold's going to go to over $10,000 an ounce, but it has needed a corrective movement. Out on the monthly chart, its RSI is the highest that it has been since 1973. It's the highest it's been since 1973. Now, the last time we got up here in 1973 was not. It did not lead to the end of the bull run. Gold kept going. Like, we topped out at 128. We rallied up to $200 an ounce. Right? So this is not. I'm not saying that this is the end of the cycle. If anything, this much space above 70 shows that there is so much strength in gold that it probably will continue. I want to be very clear on that. I'm not saying that gold is like dead or dying. It's not going to go to $2,000 now. If you're holding gold, I would not recommend selling it, right? Because if you bought gold, I would like to think you're holding it for 5 to 10 years. This is not a sell signal. It is to say that there are some people that are panic selling right now. They're going in and they're selling their bullion. They're going in and they're selling their ETFs. They're panic selling because of the capitulation that we're witnessing here. And we're probably also going to see the same kind of thing continue as we see the FOMC cut interest rates. With interest rates being cut, that is going to lead to a massive amount of risk on investment, which will lead to a massive amount of inflow into the S&P 500. As you might notice, the S&P 500 is not correcting today. That makes sense. There is a great deal of confidence that we're going to have a rate cut from the Fed, and that's going to end up being the mechanism that drives gold through a bit of a corrective movement, because you're going to see much less of a risk off, everybody needs to buy gold, to a risk on kind of sentiment where, okay, we have cheaper capital, let's go buy the stock market. Well, Bitcoin is not yet, anyway, considered to be a risk-off asset. It will be, and it's becoming a risk-off asset, and I personally treat it like a risk-off asset. That said, it's not something that is going to continue. It is going to become a risk-off asset. In the short term, though, it's considered risk-on. And so with QE coming, a lot of you guys have given me pushback, said, Jeb, QE is not coming. Yes, it is. Quantitative easing will resume within the next 12 to 24 months. It might not resume next month, but in the next 12 to 24 months, it will resume. I'm extremely confident in that. I can't say anything for certain, but I'm very confident in that prediction is what I will say. Very confident in that prediction. With that taking place, that's going to lead to a massive rally in risk-on assets. And also, just to kind of drive that point home, let's look at the history of what Bitcoin has done when it's overlaid with gold. The gold chart overlaid with Bitcoin here. Now, this can be a little bit hard to decipher, so I'm going to make it a little bit more obvious. When gold was rallying here, right here, you see gold's on the upswing. Bitcoin is honestly mostly sideways. Between the beginning of the gold upswing and the end of it, gold rallied from $140 to $900, right? I'm sorry. Did I say that right? I apologize. That is not the correct. Over here, this is where the gold axis is. It rallied from like 1,200 up to 2,000. That's what I meant to say. My apologies. So it almost doubled. Bitcoin started here at 6,700, ended at 10,000. So Bitcoin didn't really move that much while gold was moving. But when gold took its break, that's when Bitcoin went parabolic. You see what I mean? And so now we're seeing the same thing. Gold has been going on this massive run here. And Bitcoin has done very well for itself, even though gold has run, because it's actually kind of difficult for Bitcoin to do so well when there is a massive rally on gold. And that kind of makes sense. Bitcoin has not gone parabolic and blow off top. And people say, oh, well, you can't move a $2 trillion asset that fast. Gold added $2 trillion in a week. Yes, you can. It can be done, and it is done all the time. So yes, Bitcoin can go parabolic, even on the log chart. Once again, it can happen again. But it's difficult for Bitcoin to do that when gold is going parabolic. But there will come a time when gold plateaus and it stops for a little while and it trades sideways. And that's coming soon. And it might do it for 3 to 6 months or a year. When that happens, the rotation out of gold into risk-on assets is going to be enormous. And so I believe that you're going to see a major rotation out of gold into Bitcoin very soon. And I'm very excited to see what's going to happen there. All right, let's read a little bit of chat. Yeah, no, Sobeys is fine to stay in chat. He's not. I don't dislike him or anything. I just want people to, actually, if they're going to quote the scriptures, they must not bear the Lord's name in vain. And it is bearing the Lord's name in vain to say that scripture says that someone is not allowed to work for their keep. That is heresy, is what it is. Plain and simple. I don't care if that offends you. You're a heretic if you say that a Christian is not allowed to work to earn money. That's called the poverty gospel, and it reduces Christians' power and influence over the world that God created and we are called to steward. I love you. I'm never going to go out of my way to hurt your feelings, but honestly, the truth comes first. I love you enough to tell you that you're just wrong. Now, that said, again, as far as it goes in crypto, I'm probably the most risk management kind of guy you're going to find on YouTube. So it's very important to do that. Jeb, you ever going to collab with other channels again, or did it leave a bad taste in your mouth the last bull market? No, it didn't leave a bad taste in my mouth. I'm actually planning on, it's in my calendar to go around and do kind of a media tour. I love everybody in the space. Aaron and Austin over at Altcoin Daily. Crypto Wendy, she just hit 260,000 subscribers. George is he's at like 600K now. I know everybody. Tom Crown, Crypto Lifer, he and I, we hung out at the conference. Haven't met Ben Cohen yet. I want to meet him. I know basically everybody else though. So yeah, Ben Cohen really took off a lot after I kind of stopped collaborating a lot. I've just been really busy having kids. I mean, to be honest with you, that's just all it boils down to. So yes, I do very much plan on doing that again very soon, actually. I'm getting back into the place where I can be a lot more focused. God can deliver you from all suffering and addictions. That's the truth. I've been delivered from many things. If I was the same man that I used to be, man, I'll tell you what, I'm glad I'm not. I'll say that much. Jeb, where are you pulling this July 2026 nonsense from? Seriously, would love to know, even if 4-year cycle is dead. What about SPY 4-year cycle? Great question. The SPY 4-year halving cycle has to do with liquidity. It has to do with the Fed. It has to do with quantitative easing and tightening. The SPY does have a 4-year cycle. The SPY's 4-year cycle is breaking also. And a big part of the reason for that is because of, once again, the run-up on gold. Gold runs everything. You've got to understand that. Gold is still the reserve currency of Earth. It still is. We officially stopped it from being the reserve currency of Earth. Basically, everybody went off the gold standard, but gold is still the standard. Just think about it. You were not hit by inflation if you held gold for the last 50 years. All you had to do is convert your dollars into gold and do your own gold standard, and you were fine. That's what happened. If you left it in anything else, it wasn't good enough. So gold is on this gigantic tear, and stocks have been left behind. They really have. If you look at the stock market versus gold, the stocks are eating, gold is eating the stock market's breakfast. But gold is not going to run forever. And what you're going to see, as I said, is you're going to see quantitative easing. And that's going to lead to this gigantic parabolic rally on the stock market. And when you see that happening, even if from an inflation standpoint it's not great, from a nominal standpoint, the number go higher. And so when number go higher, people that don't know squat about M2 just say, wow, number go higher. We're up 34% this year on the stock market. Boy, howdy, I should buy more. And you see this generational run on stocks that's going to happen in the next few years. And when that happens, people say, stock go higher. I should buy Bitcoin tech stock, right? And so when they say stock go higher, Bitcoin tech stock, I buy tech stock, I get rich, then what they end up saying is they say, oh, looky here. Look at this uptrend. This uptrend's so beautiful. And I'm going to be over here just sitting in my little metaphorical pulpit saying, trend line point higher. And everybody's going to say, yay. And then they're going to say, oh, well, then where do we go? How do we normally bounce off of this trend line? Okay, well, let's pull either trend line. Let's say we bounce here at 106. Well, what have we done before? First time we bounced off this trend line, Bitcoin doubled. Second time we bounced off this trend line, Bitcoin 200%, tripled. The second time it rallied 100%. This most recent time, we rallied 74%. Split the difference, call it the worst case scenario. You had a 74% rally from that trend line and about the same length. So let's also look at the length here, right? This is about a 250-day, call it a 9-month rally. Got about a 9-month rally. Got about a 6-month rally. You call a 6 to 9 month rally off of this uptrend, and then you call a 75% rally off of it. It's pretty conservative, right? $185,000 by April. Well, Jeb, wait a minute. What about 694? Okay, let's call it from 94. Let's use that trend line. Let's use the linear trend line. Let's do the exact same thing. The time frame hadn't changed, except now we maybe hit it later. Maybe we bottom out down here in mid-December. Let's say we bottom out in Christmas. And it takes us 6 months. 6 months from Christmas is, you guessed it, July. And you rally 70% from the bottom. You're looking at 161,000. Jeb, why do you think these trend lines are going to hold? If you extrapolate them into the future, here, I'll tell you exactly why. The linear trend line, by like 2035, the linear trend line is so incredibly sustainable. By 2030, extrapolated here. By 2035, it says 400 grand. Like, obviously, Bitcoin's going to be worth more than 400 grand in a decade. In the last 10 years, Bitcoin's up over like 400x. To say it's only going to 4x over the next decade is ridiculous. Gold will 4x over the next decade. Probably 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 10x. By 2035, gold could genuinely be trading at $40,000 an ounce. This trend line will hold. It might break in the short term, but in the long term, it will hold. Okay. Let's look at the log chart. Let's extrapolate that trend line. It's obviously pointing way higher. So that's where I'm not as much bought into it, because it says by 2035, you're looking at $68 million a coin. I don't think that's going to happen. That's why I'm not so much putting stock in that trend line, because I think genuinely what Bitcoin's going to do is it's going to spend some time somewhere between these two lines for the rest of history. I think there will come a time where we'll leave this trend line behind as support and you will never see it again, and you will leave this trend line behind as resistance and you will never see it again, and Bitcoin will spend the rest of its time right here. Okay? So that's why I don't put as much stock in the logarithmic uptrend, and that's why I don't put as much stock in this bottom that we just put in. That said, the trend line that is based off of this log uptrend, if you extrapolate it out into next year, it is still realistic. It says support at $165,000, middle of next year, $170,000. So I think sometime next year, this uptrend will probably break. But I think the uptrend on the regular chart at some point next year will most likely hold. And so that's why I think the way that I think. I don't see any reason why Bitcoin should drop below this linear chart. And then if we look here at when it crosses 100, this linear chart uptrend crosses $100,000 as support next January. So I think the days of Bitcoin being below, oh, here we go, we got a pump. I think the days of Bitcoin being below $100,000 are either in the past or nearly in the past. All right. All right, let's watch this on the minute chart. I'm going to, real quick, pull my exchange up on the other chart. By the way, big shout out to Yard Dog. Thank you so much for that donation. Really appreciate it. $100 donation saying, amen, brother. Really appreciate that. Let's jump on over to the Bitcoin chart, down on the minute chart. I'm going to pull my exchange up here. Possibly go into a trade. We are breaking that line right now. Pretty happy about that. Pretty happy about that. Let's look at our 1 hour chart. Not entering yet. It's too early. Jab, it broke the line. Too early. Depending on how the line's drawn, it either did or it didn't. You're looking for a back test, okay? That's what you're looking for here. You're entering right now. It's not bad. I mean, you can do it, but it's not the best. That makes sense. Okay. But yeah, as far as with what's going on in the economy, I don't see there being a giant stock market crash next year. I see that if we see any kind of concern with that, what you end up seeing happen is that you just see QE flood the market. Okay, here's the breakout. Once again, we're holding. Not in yet. Not yet. Let's see, do I have this trend line up on my 2-bit chart? Once again, guys, as I've told you, trading on 2-bit. Delete everything. Grab my 4-hour downtrend. Grab my downtrend here so I can see it a little clearly. Oop, not that. Touch as many of the lines as possible. Go down to the minute chart. All right, we're looking for ourselves a back test because this is not a confident and confirmed breakout just yet. Let's look at volume here. Are getting some volume spiking. I like to see that. That's important. You got to see the liquidity come in. I'm going to get my trade ready so I can execute if I so choose. All right, I think I'm good to go. It's like anytime I want to set it, I can set it. All right. Not yet, though. Let's read some chat. Got a bunch of amens in chat. Guys, never, ever, 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 ever let someone shame you for making money. Don't let them use the Bible to make you feel bad about yourself. If you're a liar, you should feel bad about yourself. If you have no integrity, you should feel bad about yourself. If you're scamming people, you should feel bad about yourself. If you are doing honest work that helps people, you deserve to get paid to do that. You have a wife and kids to feed. If you don't, you might one day. This poverty gospel stuff is heresy. Plain and simple. I got to plug my laptop in. Hang on. Oh, here we go. Okay, so there's the rally. We're waiting for the back test now. All right, there's the rally. Let's see if we can get the back test. Got my trade set up. Not in it yet. Most of you guys would have gone in here. Could we miss it? Yeah, we could. Absolutely, we could miss something. But we're going to wait for a A+ trade. We don't enter trades unless they're A+. Didn't expect to see a trade on stream today. That's fun. Always love when that happens. All right. If you're patient with CASHBACK, you'll see your bags go to 0. Ouch. That's rough. So many are going to be holding those heavy gold bags when gold rockets down. Yeah, and gold's going to be fine. I mean, if you're an investor in gold, is a back test on the 1 minute good enough? It depends. So what we're looking at here, let's see here. We are looking at, see if we can find anything we want to go off of. A back test down here to the 0.786 would be nice. I will say that. We're looking for a springboard. If we can springboard, here's what I'm looking for. This is what I'm going to say. If we can find a fair value gap here, we can drop down and drop into, you know what? There you go. That's what I'm looking for. A drop down into here, or just a drop down generally to this uptrend, or a drop down to the 0.786. Set a higher low above this previous higher high. That's where I'd be confident entering into a long. I could go long right now. I could. But I would prefer to wait. I'd prefer to wait to see confidence. Is that our back test? Is that all we're going to get? That's all we're going to get. That's something. That might be all we're going to get. I don't like that back test. That's not really that big. I'm going to take it. All right. I'm long. Let's go over here and work our TPSL. Didn't have a chance to do it. We're going to put a stop loss. We're long right there. Let's do this number. I'm not sure if this is going to work out. I don't like the exit. I don't like the back test. Put that on. Like I said, guys, we are trading over on 2-bit. Huh, that's funny. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay. Well, I set my TP too low and it automatically profited me. Okay, well, let's go ahead and take our winnings there and re-enter. That's fine. Typically, I wouldn't go in like this because I can actually run my row lower. Let's do this. There we go. There we go. I guess that was our back test. That wasn't much of a back test, to be honest with you. Where are my TPs here? Okay, I need to spread these out a little bit. I've never done this on stream before, so it's a little bit difficult because normally I'm doing this on my main screen. Let's spread that out a little bit here. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, in profit up 8%. The first one closed out at like 4% profit, up another 8%. We're going to do our best to let this one run. This looks like a solid trade. Like a solid trade. All right, let's go back over here and do some analysis. Right now, my TP is at 113. Let's figure out whether or not that's a good take profit. Honestly, it's not bad. Let's see. How far are we up? We're going to come over here. We're going to reduce our entries right there. We're going to go ahead and make this a 0 risk trade. I'm just doing this with a few dollars just for the sake of example. Who wants to see this live on air? Let's do it. Let's do it. Why not? Let's go ahead and put it live on air. I'm not trading with much money right now because I'm on stream and I'm obviously very distracted. I'm more so just doing this for fun. So we're in the trade. As you can see, that one closed out plus 5%. Like I said, we're just using a few bucks. I'm not going to use a bunch of money here live on air. But we're up 11%. We've got our take profit reduced down to nothing. Let's go full screen. Got our take profit reduced down to nothing. I'm sorry, our stop loss reduced down to pure profit. If we do get stopped out, you know what? That's a little bit too aggressive because I actually had to re-enter this twice. So I'm gonna move this down to -5% right now on 30x leverage. But again, we're only using a little bit of money because I'm not too interested in using a bunch of risk right now while I'm on stream. Move the stop loss down here. We've already in a sense realized like 5% profit. So we're up 11% here. We're gonna let that ride now. I'm going to leave the exchange. Again, this is kind of janky because I'm not used to doing this. I'm not used to doing this on air. If you guys want to see me trade more on air, tell me. I guess that was our take profit. I mean, not our take profit. I guess that was our back test. Like, I went ahead and went for it. I wasn't exactly the most confident in it, but we went for it. Let's see if there's... Now we got to try and figure out... Ooh, I like this. Yeah, I actually like to take profit up there at like 113 or so. Because what we're doing right now is we've set a higher high, at least a higher candle wick minimum. Okay, let me make sure. I really like this entry, so I really don't want to lose it. Let me jump back on over to 2-bit and make sure I don't lose that entry. My stop loss is down here at 111.300. I like that. I like that. I'm going to leave the stop loss down there. This is one of the ones you want to let run. You see what I'm saying? This is what I was talking about earlier. You want to let the winners run. This is a winner. It's a really big breakout. This is not a minute chart breakout. This is like a daily chart breakout. It's a really, really, really big, powerful breakout. So we want to do our best to let this one run. We've broken above the 0.618 on our Fibonacci retracement off of this correction. That most likely means that we have now invalidated a drop down to 103,000 if we can stay here. Now, ooh, ha! The hourly close. Yes! Good timing, bulls. Good timing, bulls. Let's go. Let's go. Good timing, bulls. The hourly close is about to come in. This is an hourly close. Okay, this is no longer a minute chart breakout. This is very much so a more powerful breakout than that. All right, we're up 18%. Man, kind of wish I had actually used some actual size on this trade instead of just wimping out because we're on air and I wasn't focused. That's okay, but we're not doing emotional trading. We're in the trade right now. Once again, here, I'm going to give you a lesson. Again, here's something you got to remember about trading. Never add margin because you're like, oh my gosh, it's such a good trade. No, the entry was 5 minutes ago. We're in. No emotional trading. We have a system. We have a structure. We're systematically trading. We are not going to play games with this. We already took some profits, right? We've got a TP up here at 113, which we just did longer term analysis because we're having to pull in some multi-time frame analysis here. There's the hourly close. Love to see it. Very bullish. We could see a back test down to 111. Down to 111.300. So I want to put my stop loss down below 111.300 because that back test could happen and that doesn't actually invalidate the movement. Here it is right there, actually. Let's go ahead and move that. Ooh, let's drop that stop loss. I want to widen up that stop loss because I do have room to run because of the original take profit. My entry got jacked up because I accidentally took profit too early. Want to move that stop loss down here below the 100 because we could end up seeing, yeah, this is like I said, this is some multi-time frame stuff going on here. Zoom out here. Let's pull our fib right there. Nope, not right there. I'm sorry. Let's pull our fib right here. Down to here. Someone said classes in session. There you go, baby. We got our 111.360. That's going to be a very important fib. I want to bring my stop loss down below that. My entry is right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull a risk factor off of this. What am I willing to risk on this trade? I'm willing to risk 10% on this trade. We're going to pull a risk factor off of percentage because I don't have time to adjust it into dollars because of the way that this trade got entered. This is a little bit of a jacked up trade entry because I'm doing it live. I would normally be much more systematic about this. So yeah, I want to keep that stop loss. But once again, what did I already profit? What was the original entry? The original entry was at, okay, that's there, but the original entry was at, where was it? The original taker entry was at 111,340. So that's actually my entry, 111,340. Yes, I can afford to make that a little bit. I can afford to make that a little bit lower to accommodate a back test. Yeah, I can afford to make that a little bit lower. Just because there's already been some profit taken. I can afford to drop that stop loss down towards that uptrend. Because it's possible that we're not looking at a 1 minute back test. It's possible that this is a multi time frame correction. Yeah, I'm gonna drive that stop loss lower. I don't mind losing money here because this might end up being a trade that we hold for longer. And also, as I do with most things, my goal here is to to learn, right? And if Bitcoin just closed an hourly candle up here, that gives me a lot of bullish bias. I'm willing to like add to this trade if it drops down. Yeah. I'm willing to lower that average entry price on this kind of trade. Oop. Nope. Stay put, Fib. Fibonacci's right there. Yeah. Yeah, it could drop pretty low on a back test. And this trade definitely got, my entry on this definitely got jacked up. This is not, yeah. No, that all happened so quickly. I didn't get the entry I wanted, so that's why my liquidation levels are having an issue. So now the question becomes: do I just close up the stop loss, and if we drop back, re-enter? That might be the case. That could be the case. If this was a bottom on the minute chart, then that's the spread we were talking about. Remember how I was talking about a spread between the bottom and the top? If this is the spread that you're looking at, we will probably come back and refill it in a few hours, but for now it's really good. For now it's good. We got to make sure that we stay unemotional, and that's why I'm only trading with a little bit of size on stream. I don't want to sit here and, screw around with a bunch of money. Because I'm not able to be completely focused. One of my rules of trading is that you have to be completely and totally focused. That's why I don't trade on stream, actually, is because I need to be completely and totally focused. So I figured I'd just jump into this with a little bit of money just for the fun of it. Yeah, it looks like we might be seeing the correction here that we need to. I like to see it. I like to see it. But that hourly close, that's gorgeous. I mean, that's... I cannot stress enough how important that hourly candle close is. That's the only reason that I'm willing to take such a big risk factor on this trade, because honestly, this is the kind of trade where we could say, honestly, I could probably... Okay, so here's the mistake I've made. The mistake I've made is trading this like it's a 1 minute breakout. But what I didn't realize is that if it broke out, it was going to set an hourly candle close up there. So this is actually more like a 15 minute to an hour time frame movement, which means I need to treat it as such. So that's really solid. Really, really solid. Yeah. So what I'm going to do to manage this trade is I'm going to do something that looks really stupid, like I'm breaking all the rules at the beginning, because in a sense I am. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up these TPSLs, spread them out quite a bit. I'm going to set the levels here. I'm going to spread them out quite a bit, and if we drop and we backtest, I'm going to add size to the trade to drive the risk factor down because we've got a lower average entry, and to drive the reward factor higher because we've got a higher average entry. I like that SL. I like that SL up here because it would be right under here. Yeah, I like the way this is set up now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to... I like that. I like that. That's what I'm going to go with. That's what I'm going to go with. We want to allow... Whoa, we just gapped on the minute chart. Jeez. Okay, yeah, here we go. Like to see it. We like to see it. Yes, we do. Yes, we like to see it. We're up 25%. Not bad if I do say so myself. Kind of wish I was doing this with a few grand. But again, we're not going to get emotional. This is what charts do. They give you entries. If you get one entry and you make 50 bucks, great. If you get another entry and you make $1 million, great. We're not going to get emotional about the size of the trade. So long as it's not too big. If it's too big, then we'll back out. But not with it being too small. We're going to say, great, we're learning. So yeah. I think I will, and I think I will increase size a little bit. I think I will add a little bit of margin here. Again, I was not really prepared to do this. So we're going to add a little bit of size here. So the news here is that it is 11 o'clock. So here's the reason why the market is moving. What are you actually trading? This is Bitcoin. We're trading Bitcoin. The reason that this is performing so well, and the reason I'm willing to risk putting more money into this trade, is because I added more margin. That's not what I meant to do. I meant to buy. That's what I meant to do. Let's put 40 in here. Yeah, I think I'm gonna wait. Actually, yeah, I think I'm gonna wait. I'll just leave the margin in there. That's fine. No, I won't. I will reduce the margin. That's okay. If we have a correction, I'm not going to buy high. I'm not doing that. If we have a correction down here, we will. That would be an example of an emotional thing to do. And luckily, I hit the wrong button, so I didn't actually end up doing it. I added margin, not bought. If we drop back down here, I will buy. I'm not going to buy right here. We're in the middle of the trade. The risk to reward on that would be too small. For me to enter into another long position is effectively what you're doing, because what I'd be doing in that case is I'd be setting up an entry with a 1.15 risk to reward. Not acceptable. Unacceptable. That breaks my trading rules. So I will not be laddering in. I will not be adding size here, because my exit I'm going to put up here right below the previous high, up around 115. That would not be a good entry. If on the other hand, I got an entry down here at like 111, then my stop loss is right here. My exit is right here. That would be a 5x risk to reward ratio. That would be a good entry. But entering right here would be a poor decision statistically. And if you make poor decisions statistically over enough time, that's where you'll end up really regretting it. So we're looking at this on the minute chart, but it is actually a 1 hour chart movement. We have confidently broken above the 0.618, which is great. We even close an hourly chart above it. So that gives us, I mean, that's just going to give us jet fuel. Like, people are in longs right now. Everybody's longing this movement. This is what we were talking about earlier on the stream. So yeah, we're going to put our SL, stop loss, right up here. I may consider taking some profits off the table to reduce risk at this point in time. Yeah, if we get up to 0.786, I may consider taking some profits off the table. If we do end up rallying up to the 0.786, we're going to consider taking some profits off the table. Yeah, that would make sense. That would make sense, taking some profits there. I think I'll let the majority of the position ride, but once I take the profits, that's where I can let that stop loss stay a little bit lower, because at that point in time, what we are doing is we have greatly reduced risk. The profits that I'll probably take maybe 30%, 40% of the position off here at, let's call it, let's make sure I have this drawn correctly, because we're coming up on time to do that. We've obviously gone over time, and that's because we're in a trade here. As we approach 113,500 would be too far. I'm going to say 112,950. 112,950. I need a partial TPSL. Where's my partial TPSL? Normally I just do it manually, but I want to automate it. Limit. We're going to remove 40% of size at 112,950. We're going to reduce 40% of size at 112,950. So that will take some profits off the table. And then we have our backup TPSL all the way up here. Someone said classes in session. That's exactly right. That's what we're doing. So we will take limit close 40% off the table if we hit 112,950. And we will let the rest of it run, is what we're going to do. That's what I'm going to do. After that, as someone mentioned, we will probably use some kind of trailing stop loss. The issue with the trailing stop loss, and the reason a lot of people don't always use them, is because they can stop your runners from running. And so a trailing stop loss sounds like a good idea, and there are instances where it can be a good idea, but it's not always a good idea. It's not always a good idea. Now, we are running a little bit hot here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cancel that order. I'm going to go ahead and market close 40% of the position right here. I'm going to market close 40% of the trade. So that means on this trade so far, we realized 8% profit, and we realized 24% profit. Like I said, this was not a trade that we had a particularly large amount of, margin in. But we have so far profited 8%, and we profited 24%. So that's fantastic. That's great. At this point, that allows me to keep that stop loss pretty low, because if we do hit that stop loss, then what we basically do is we hit break even. And this is where, now that I've taken some profits off the table, I can allow this trade to run. And I can basically just sit here and let it stay automated, which means at this point, I've de-risked this entire trade. Our stop loss, as you can see here, is negative 14.5. By the way, I'm on 2bit, the exchange that we recommend. I told you, this is the exchange that I use, right? At this point, we have closed out a considerable amount of margin here. $4.04, $3.25. Like I said, it's unfortunate that I only went into this with a little bit of size, but I didn't want to, I didn't really want to risk a bunch of money here on stream since I'm distracted. But we can go ahead and we will update this. Update this so that we get the new prices here. That'll update over here. So right now at this point, we are risking with what's left in the trade, because we took profits. We took profits at a pretty good spot, I'd say. We are risking $9 to potentially earn $29. You see what I'm saying? So this is the risk factor. We have extreme confidence that Bitcoin is going to go here, and we are using conservative stop loss here. And so if you work the math out on this, and again, this trade is more sloppy than I like. I do have to admit that and let you guys know that. This is more sloppy than I like a trade to be. This works out to a 3.22 risk to reward ratio. Not great. Not my favorite. And the reason that happened is because of the fact that we didn't get the best entry. Right? The market moved so fast we didn't get the entry that we wanted. The entry is a little bit higher than we would have liked, but it ended up being low enough that it was still valid. And at this point, I can be quite confident that, one, there probably will be a corrective movement, and I don't want to get emotional. If we do pull back here, we've done good work so far during this trade. If we do pull back here and hit our stop loss, then number one, we can consider re-entering. If we just tagged a stop loss and it looks like we're going to go higher, we can just re-enter, right? We did not deploy our entire margin account into this trade because we do not want to over risk, right? And so if we did come down here and trigger this stop loss, what was that? It just triggered. Something just triggered. What was that? Why did it make that sound? I'm not sure why it made that sound. Why did it do that? What was that? I must have hit a button. Oh, you know what? There's a button on my mouse that just makes the cha-ching sound on 2-bit. I don't know why. I have no idea why it does that. But it just makes the sound. It's not actually doing anything. Sorry. Anyway, if we do fall back down here, we risk losing $9. But if you'll recall, we already made 3.25, $4. So that's $7 and some change. So we'll basically be close to break even if we fell back down there. So we've basically de-risked this trade. And so here's what I want to encourage you to do. I want to encourage you to, if you were trading, work around the concept of risk factor. While we're watching this trade live, I'll go over some of the things that I've learned over the years doing this. And what they boil down to is as such. What they boil down to is that you want to calculate everything based off of risk. One risk unit. So Don't look at $8.90. Don't look at $29.70. Look at one risk factor, and then this, we did the math, is 3.2 R, 3.2 risk. Not a great risk to reward ratio, to be honest with you. I look for 4 to 5, maybe even 6x risk to reward ratio. I did not get a good entry here. You can see that our entry, we were sitting here waiting for that corrective movement that never came. And so we didn't get the greatest entry. We did enter on a correction, so that was good. We entered right here on this little correction, but Bitcoin just pumped so hard that we didn't really get a great entry. So our risk to reward ratio is not as good as it is. This is why optimizing entries is so important, because if you get the right entry at the right price, then your risk to reward ratio becomes so high that the odds ever in your favor and you can do well for yourself. If you don't get the entry as low as you want or as high as you want on a short, then you end up running into issues there. So I'm glad, by the way, that I took some profits off the table because we are up here at very high RSI. There is probably going to be a corrective movement. That said, if that corrective movement manages to bounce off of the 0.618, which is right here, these previous highs, I'm going to draw a box right here. If Bitcoin manages to bounce off of these highs, which is probably where we're going to revisit. I'm trying to anticipate what the market is going to do and plan for it rather than emotionally reacting. Oh my gosh, I'm losing P&L. I'm losing unrealized P&L. I'm going to say, if Bitcoin does come back down to sweep these highs, there's a high likelihood that it'll bounce there. And if it does, I can add size, right? So if we drop down here, I'm not going to add size right here. I'm not going to add size right here. I would add size right here. You see what I mean? No, yes. And the reason that I would add size there is because that would indicate to me that Bitcoin has swept previous highs, turned them into support, and that is a very bullish thing indeed. So I'm not going to emotionally get shaken out of this trade. I've made no emotional decisions whatsoever. You've heard some of my emotions. One of my emotions was, man, I wish I had have entered into this with more margin because it's such a good trade. Sure, that's fair. I'm not going to act on that emotion. That would break one of my rules. That would break my risk management, because if I enter in right now and I have my TPSL set, if I enter into a long right now at these levels, then my TPSL is below 3, which means I don't take it. I never take a trade below a 3 TPSL, right? The TPSL, if I entered right here, would be 1.43 on that new trade. Now, I just get added onto the trade, but that would bring my entire trade, and especially this position I would enter right here, below my 3. Now, if Bitcoin drops down here, falls back down to this support and bounces, it's right at 3, but it is at 3, right? It's kind of like this. When I hire someone with my company, I used to hire people, and I would hire people, and they didn't make me any money. Like, I'd pay them $40,000, $50,000 a year, and they probably made me nothing. I now have a rule in business. If I am not going to make $3 for every dollar I pay you, I don't hire you. I don't hire you. I just don't do it. It makes no sense. And so I run the same rule with trading, 3 to 1. Our God is 3 and 1. There's something very special about the ratio 3 to 1. If I do not have at least a 3 to 1 risk to reward ratio with my trade, I'm not going to take it. And if I took an entry right now, I could ladder into the trade, but that new entry would not be greater than a 3 to 1 risk to reward ratio. That is not a risk I'm willing to take. I want to be in a position where if I roll a die 3 times, how do I put this? That in a 50-50 shot, 3 out of 4 times I win. That's the position I want to be in. All right. So people take a short on an asset and a long on cash to loan it out for interest-bearing payments. What? Not sure what you're talking about there. Let's see. So yeah, I mean, people over here, like we've got, in a sense, a great question here. People lost life savings and you're back pushing trades. I'm not pushing trades. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm showing you how to do this safely. Because here's the deal. You know, there are some things in life that are just plain and simply immoral and you should never do them. Like, I'm not going to teach you how to rob a bank without getting shot. No, I mean, if you get shot robbing a bank, then that's your own fault. But there's nothing inherently immoral about trading, right? Jesus said in the parable of the minas and the talents, right? The master gives talents to these different servants, and one of them is given 5 and he turns it into 10, and the other is given 2 and he turns it into 5, or whatever it was. I forgot what the number was. 2 and turns it into 4, I think it is, and he gives the other one 1, and he goes and buries it in the ground, and he says, Jesus, I know that, or not Jesus, master, I know that you are a harsh master, and you sow where you have not reaped. So I buried it in the ground. Here it is back to you. And they said, and the master says, thou wicked and evil servant, you should have gone and put that talent in the marketplace for it to be traded so that at least I could have generated usury on it, which is interest. Trading is not wrong. There's nothing immoral about trading. There is something immoral about being stupid and foolish. The Bible says even the thought of foolishness is sin. Even the thought of doing foolishness is sin. If you're thinking about going into the leverage trading platforms and operating like a casino, that is a sinful, foolish thought. If you are coming here with a plan, with a risk management strategy that puts the odds in your favor, that's not a bad idea. And so here's what I've come to realize. You guys are going to trade whether I talk about it or not. I have no option to just say, just be an investor and stop trading. You're just not gonna listen to me. I mean, let's be honest, you're not gonna do that. And there's nothing immoral about not trading, so I can't make for the commands of men my own rules, right? And so that's where I'm gonna encourage you with this. I mean, just so you know, like this trade for me, I'm up $10. Up $10. I've made $16. I'm up another $10 of unrealized P&L. I have hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in the stock market and real estate and in crypto. Like, I've made millions of dollars in my life. I am not trading with a lot of money here. You understand? I'm trading for the sake of learning and growing and teaching you guys. And so that's what I need to encourage you guys to do, is that I need to encourage you guys to not put everything in the perps exchange. People that got wrecked because they had everything in perps, that's kind of your problem. You were not putting things into spot. Any money that I make from this trade, you know what's going to happen to it? I'm going to go buy Bitcoin with it and throw it in a cold storage wallet. That's what I'm going to do with the profits. I'll set aside some to cover, future potential losses, because as a trader, you're going to take losses. As a trader, you're most likely going to take more losses than wins. It's lucky and a blessing that this trade that I'm taking on stream is working out. Doesn't always do it, right? But what you need to keep in mind is that the goal of trading is to generate an income, and with that income, what do you do with any income? Well, you're supposed to invest it. So yeah, this is a trade that'll probably take some time to play out. I'm probably not just going to sit here and baby it. It is in a position where I've already de-risked it enough where I think we tapped 113 there, didn't we? Did we? Did we tap 113? Yeah, on 2-bit we did anyway. Yep. So anyway, nice movement. We like to see it. RSI on the slightly longer term time frames is quite overbought, so I would expect a correction here. And here's what I'm going to do. And this is what. Whoa! What was that? Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. It was just the exchange updating. I would expect this is a fair value gap. See this? Top of that wick, bottom of that wick. This is a fair value gap right here. I would expect at some point for Bitcoin to sweep these lows. It's probably going to backtest somewhere down in here to like 110. I'm not selling. I'm not going to panic sell and let fear set in and say, oh my gosh, my 33% unrealized P&L is gone. Nope. The risk to reward is there. I'm going to run my plan. My take profit is up here at 115. It's right below the 0.7. It's right below the 0.786. What is that? The 0.786, I think it is. It's right below the fib up here. We got to let the runners run. Losses are going to happen. Right? Losses are going to happen. Let the runners run. Got to leave the trade alone. A lot of times if you set a trade and you automate it and you forget about it, that's where you're going to end up doing well. So I could take profits here. I could, but I already took 40%. I might take a little bit. Just so that I can put this down while I go eat lunch, I might market close like 30% of what's left, just to de-risk the trade even more, since I'm not going to be watching it. So yeah, I think I'll market close that. Update these. Okay, so now with me doing that, we're up 33%. With me doing that, I am now risking $6 to make $23. Same ratio, but I'm risking $6. But if you'll notice, I've already taken, let's do the math here. I'm risking $6.06 if we go down and hit our take profit. We have pulled out $2.4, $4.4, $3.25. That means we've already profited off of this trade $10. So if we come down here and we tag our SL, stop loss, then that means that we'll still be up $4. That's what that means. And by the way, these are calculations after fees, right? These are post-fee calculations. You understand what I'm saying, right? So, because let's see, yeah. So realized P&L minus the open and close fee is that. So there you go. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the stream here because I got to go shoot the video, and I'm going to let this run. I'm going to let it play out. I'm going to let it do its thing, and I'm not going to raise that stop loss. I'm not going to do it because I think that there will probably at some point be a back test down here into this fair value gap, springboard and bounce. We were looking for it on the minute chart. It didn't happen, and the reason it didn't happen is because we were looking at the wrong time frame. It didn't happen because we were looking down here on the minute chart, when in fact this is an hour chart breakout. So you'll probably see like a 5 to 15 minute chart back test, and you might not. And if we don't, that's fine. We're already in the trade. We already entered the trade. We took a bit of a risk. And we said we're going to enter this trade, even though we don't have the back test that we would typically like. But we're going to see what happens. So yeah, I could close the trade out right now and I'd walk away with an average of about 35% return. It's pretty solid. Rocket Race heading out. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. I'm using my life savings to buy Bitcoin, but I'm 26, so it's all right. I do recommend some diversification. I do recommend that. Lol, my profits just getting yeeted into stonks next year. There you go. 113 is being touched. 113 has broken on 2-bit. So like I said, we're going to let this trade run. We're going to let the runners run. I've taken some profits to de-risk because, and the reason I did that is because I've already gone for an hour and a half. I'm going to have to wrap it out pretty soon. But that's the main reason I'm taking some profits, is because I am not going to be watching it. But yeah. So big shout out, by the way, to Stampseed. If you guys have not already, make sure to sign up for Stampseed. You need to protect your Bitcoin and crypto. If you are an investor and a trader, then you're trying to save money for the future. Remember, the point of the trading account is not to grow the trading account. The point of the trading account is to grow the investment account. People get that wrong, and that's why they lost everything 2 weeks ago. You need to preserve capital in the long run by storing it correctly. And so make sure that you sign up for Stampseed with the link in the description box down below. Joe's trading with 22 bucks, relax. Yeah, I mean, you know, this is how I practice. I come in here and I will trade with a lot more money. I will trade with a lot more money. But what I like to do is I know the traditional conventional wisdom is to paper trade. But what I prefer to do, this is just me. You do what you want to do. Paper trading's fine. What I prefer to do is I like to go into trades with like $5. and I'll risk like $1. I will allow a risk factor of like $1. Remember, you run everything against your risk factor. In this case, I was risking like $10. So this is somewhere between what I'd actually be trading with and what I'm practicing with. When I'm practicing, I risk $1. So I've got enough skin in the game that it feels real, because I'm gonna be honest, when you're paper trading and you make a profit, you're like, ah, oh, dang, that's nothing. You know, what's the point of that? But when you're trading with like $1 of risk, I mean, for me, right, I've got $1. I mean, anyway, I'm not trying to brag, but $1 is basically paper trading to me, right? If I'm risking $1 per trade, then I've got enough risk. I've got a small enough risk that I can practice, right? But yeah, Pew Pew Poom 2 said, "God, you're insufferable." Who's insufferable? Is it me? What am I doing? God, you're short-sighted. Man, there's a lot of argument going on in chat. MicroStrategy is going to the moon as well. But yeah, the point is, if you can make money trading with $10, then gradually scale up. Say, okay, on my next, let's say you made profit for the last week. Not me, Jeb. Oh, thank you. No, I'm not always sure. Thanks. If I can make profit, if I can, sorry, my wife texted me. If I can make profit risking $1, then maybe I can make profit risking $2. If I can make profit risking $2, then, well, maybe I can make profit risking $5. If I can make profit risking $5, then maybe I can make profit risking $10. At that point, you're standing to gain like, hey, I might make $40 on a trade, right? This trade, we're roughly risking about $10. if you are, and then if you can make money with $10. And I'm talking about, say, like, hey, I'm going to trade with $10 risk factor for a month. And if I'm consistently profitable, if my system consistently works, then maybe I'll try risking $20. And then you work up, and then you work up to $500, $1,000, $10,000. And before you know it, if you're actually good at it and you have a high enough win rate and you're actually getting optimized entries and you're managing your risk correctly, and you've got a win rate that's at least above like 30%, right? At least above 35, 40%, then you'll end up being profitable. But you have to prove it to yourself with small amounts of capital. So I don't paper trade. I know that's like breaking one of the golden rules of trading. And if you have nothing to your name and $1 is like your lunch money, then yeah, don't trade, paper trade. For me, when I want to practice and just get reps in, if I've been away from trading for a while, for example, I just had a baby. I mean, I haven't been doing a bunch of trading over the last few months. I'm kind of getting back into it. So when I'm trading right now, I mean, even just yesterday, I sat here for like 6 hours trading, and I'll tell you what, I lost a bunch of trades because I'm getting back on the bike, right? But I'm risking 50 cents or $1 on every trade, so I don't care. I can trade for 6 hours and I might lose $5, but I got the reps, right? When I started doing bench press, I freaking sucked at it. I mean, I was so scrawny. You guys remember from when I started doing content on the channel, when I was so scrawny, like I was benching the bar, 45 pounds, bench press. Now, if I haven't been in the gym in a year, I can show up and I'll be benching 135 for 10 right out the gate. But I got the reps in. And so for me, I would rather bench the bar than bench air. And so I risk 50 cents or $1 when I'm practicing. So if you're just trying to learn trading and you don't know whether you're good at it or not, don't go risking $1,000 in every trade. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to get burned. You're going to end up like everybody that got liquidated last week. If you're like me and you actually have wisdom and structure and you realize that success in any field comes from proper structure and proper systems and most importantly, integrity to good core values. The bar used to bench Jeb for fun. Yeah, exactly. Literally, my wife right now is stronger than I was when I started. And she's 5'2" and 100 and nothing. Like, she's tiny. And she's literally got more upper body strength than I did when I started. Now, obviously, I'm like 4 times stronger than her now. But when I started going to the gym, I was literally like, I'm not giant, but I'm not small either anymore. But when I started going to the gym, I was benching the bar. And that's okay. It's okay if you start trading with $1. That's fine. It's not about the money. You got to realize it's not about the money. It's about learning. And so the exchange that I use here is called 2bit. If you guys haven't signed up, there's a bunch of promotions. There's always a promotion going on. Just check out the link down below. I'm going to leave the rest of this trade, let it run. Worst case scenario, I get stopped out and miss an entry. But I'm going to lower the stop loss just a little bit. I'm going to lower the stop loss just a hair down to 110, 190. Just because I have room to run. I can be a little bit more aggressive on this trade because I've already taken profits. So I'm going to appropriately lower it. Now, again, you're looking at that, you're like, negative 38%. That's terrifying, Jeb. What are you talking about? Well, remember, I've already taken profits. So it's not negative 38%. It's negative 38% on what remains. I'm risking on this trade losing $8.04 to gain $22.30. But remember, I've already taken profits. So I'm actually risking $8.40 for a possible, let me show you here. For a possible, we made $2.40, $4.40, and $3.25. So we've already gained, because we got to calculate the risk to reward ratio like that. We've already gained $10.05 plus a possible $22.30 that'll happen if we get up there. So that's a 32.35 cent profit. And if we divide that by 8.4, which is what we're risking, then that's a 3.85 risk to reward ratio. I'm okay with that. So I actually am able to drive my stop loss down a little bit just to protect myself in case we drop down here. And I still maintain an almost 4x risk to reward ratio, which is cool. So I'm going to wrap it out, guys. I really appreciate all of you guys being here. Stay tuned for more content. Obviously, Bitcoin's in great shape. Very excited about where it is, where it's going. Pretty fun jumping into a profitable trade here with you live. That was a lot of fun. If you want to see more of that, let me know. I'm getting back into being a lot more consistent with my trading. I haven't had a lot of time. As you guys know, we lost a child earlier this year, which was brutal. We just had a baby, so we have an 8-week-old. She'll be 8 weeks tomorrow. So getting back into it, doing a lot of trading. So if you want to join our Discord server and see my trades live, because most of the time it doesn't happen on stream, then make sure to check out the link in the description box down below. You're going to be able to either sign up for $49 a month, $419 a year, or what you can do is you can go ahead and sign up for. What you can do is you can go ahead and sign up for 2bit with the link in the description box down below. Get trading, and then we will go ahead and give you access for. We'll go ahead and give you access to the Discord server for free for a year if you sign up for 2bit, because your trading fees will pay your subscription. If you trade in there, then they're sponsoring the Discord. So check it out. Also, one last thing I got to mention is iTrust Capital. If you guys have not already signed up for iTrust Capital, you absolutely should. I'm going to tell you exactly why. I want you to come on over here and buy and sell crypto with iTrust Capital. You're in a tax shelter, so anything you do in here is going to be tax advantaged. If you buy Bitcoin with a Roth IRA, then you're not going to have to pay taxes on disbursements in retirement after 59.5. If you buy with a traditional IRA, then you're not going to need to pay taxes on that income this year, so it ends up being a deduction. So make sure, if you haven't already, to sign up with the link in the description box down below. Deposit money, you'll get a $100 exclusive funding bonus with us, or you can just go to itrustcapital.com/crypto-jeb. The link is in the description box down below. Also, make sure to sign up for 2bit. Make sure to sign up for Stampseed. I really appreciate all of you guys for being here, and we are going to go ahead and wrap it out. Before I go, though, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching. As always, I love you very much, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.